whatever.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We're here, I guess. Everybody's here. All right, cool. So yeah, welcome. Yeah, I am. My name is Drew, one of the founders of MetaFacotry. We are, it's a combination of many things, and excited to kind of get into exactly what we're working on. The premise of everything we're doing, as you can see, was inspired by a combination of streetwear, gaming, digital art, NFT art, and crypto economics. Specifically, it's a crowdfunding platform for creation of limited run custom goods with an initial focus on fashion and apparel. And even more specifically, we are working to create some of the world's first digi-physical brands. So what's meant by that is products that exist as both physical apparel or physical goods and digital ones. In terms of apparel, digital wearables. We handle all the auction, production, fulfillment on behalf of both the artists and like the creation side. And as a result of that, we're able to democratize brand creation and empower anybody who wants to create and grow their own culture economy. All buyers, participants in the auction are also rewarded with a proportionate share of sales based on their kind of support level. And as a result, the creators and communities through these aligned incentives are able to work together to cultivate brands that we think will collectively resonate and highly accelerate growth of those brands. So yeah, this quote here by Dr. Charles Sager talks about belongingness being one of the core basic human needs. And talking, we mentioned how one of the inspirations was streetwear. Looking at the success of like the hype beast culture specifically, and those brands, the Supremes, the Yeezys, Off-White, obviously a lot of that's driven by the speculation on scarcity and secondary market potential. But I think it's also more of a reflection on the power of community, the desire to be kind of a part of something bigger, something that resonates with your lifestyle, something exclusive or cool. And more specifically, fashion is as a form of art is one of the more powerful in the sense that it's an expressive voice. It's a reflection of how we see ourselves, or at least how we want to be seen. And I think that's even more relevant when we start talking about our digital selves. We have the ability to be anyone we want in the digital space. And as a result, we're typically more bold, more expressive. We're able to personalize, customize, and oftentimes that's driven by a desire for actualization and, to portray the me that I see as the real me, which I may be unable to, not comfortable, confident to do so in the real world or the physical world. Can you go back, man? What are you doing? Hamad.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. Can you see it?
Go back. Here we go.
This? Okay.
Yep. People think DeFi is really kind of the driver right now in terms of Web3, taking Web3 mainstream. But and a lot of us who are working on this think that communities is actually where it will incubate and spread. Just looking at the promise of a return on, 8 to 12, 15% at its best return on assets or return on savings, and from a DAI standpoint, it really hasn't been enough to get non-crypto natives to cross the chasm. It's really only appealing to those that are financially savvy and those that are kind of already, like, as a result, already possibly in the space. And thinking about or rethinking that, like, what are people's emotions? And we believe that physical goods can serve as a really powerful entryway and an anchor to pull people into the space and also into a community, at which point we can then introduce them to the world of digital collectibles, the metaverse, and DeFi, for instance. Yeah, next slide. So yeah, as we mentioned, one of our inspiration, streetwear. Obviously, streetwear is built off scarcity. And one thing we've also like gotten really good at in terms of scarcity in Ethereum is scarcity in Ethereum, looking at NFT art, kitties, Gods Unchained access or assets, etc. This is going to be a hard one because it has all the animations, Hamad. So I don't know how you want to do that. Okay, cool. So yeah, throw in this guy if you don't know who he is. He's the RuneScape blue party hat, one of the original like swank or like swag. If you were that guy, you had that. That was cool. Throw in like crypto economic mechanics in terms of physical goods and merch. We were obviously really inspired by the Unisocks experiment, which was tokenizing physical goods, bonding curve. St. Faden did something recently with their approach. Throw all those together, and what do you get? MetaFactory. And shit, while we're at it, let's throw in some FOMO 3D. we that piece of it, I think, is going to help to really make it more experiential and boost the game theory as well in terms of participation and whatnot. Thanks to blockchain, smart contracts, Web3 tech, we're able to bridge all these things together and use them to fuel new decentralized brand economies, capture new audiences, and possibly ones that never cared about Web3 land before. This is the MetaFactory Pagoda, and this is really where the digital piece starts to come out. We can now provide for provably rare digital swag. This is our location, our parcel in crypto voxels specifically, which is one of the many layers of the emerging metaverse. Obviously, we're exploring Decentraland. Earlier today, we also just announced a partnership with Sandbox. We're going to be in their Land 3 pre-sale as a sponsor. One of the major innovations is the ability to wear that matching equivalent in digital space that you've purchased in physical. And although, the physical I think will initially drive, I really expect the digital will kind of propel us forward and propel these opportunities forward and become really the driver. And with these explosion of multiple metaverses, including, Decentraland, Crypto Voxels, Sandbox, Somnium Space, which is like a very immersive VR platform, we're seeing a demand for custom wearables really explode. This is the Pagoda. The bottom floor, we're going to be listing all of our auctions. The middle floor will have a bunch of our wearables that are for sale or that may be on the secondary market. And then the third level is really just a gallery of all the art of the MetaFactory team. And we can use this kind of like a meeting space and conference room and whatnot. Next slide.
Just a side note too, the InterCon after party is going to be happening at the MetaFactory Pagoda. So take that QR code or the URL that you see and keep a link because that's where we'll be at the after party.
Yeah, there's a cool little secret passage into the huge Notre Dame cathedral behind that you kind of see as well. He had Basilius. He is an amazing collection of work and art that will be a fun one to explore as well. You can go forward. Yeah. So how does this thing work? So we are primarily focused on completely custom, limited run, cut and sew constructions. So we can do, but not really too focused on the on-demand printing that you see very commonly in lots of production companies and shops available for that today. But artists basically bring their designs for anything they'd like. We can support hats, pants, jackets, bombers, hoodies, socks, exploring shoes, but that's a bit more tricky due to fit as well as the much larger sizing spectrum. But we definitely want to get to that. The limiting piece in terms of design, because it's completely custom, is really imagination only. We can work from sketches. But yeah, as I mentioned previously, we handle all the production, fulfillment, packaging and shipping, as well as running the actual tech platform, the auctions, marketplace, etc. Normally to make connections in the space, it requires huge upfront capital to make the purchases, custom run, lots of time and effort, relationships in the space. We're able to take a lot of that heavy lifting off the creators and potential brands themselves, and again, democratize this process and lower the cost of entry. Our auction design also, and like that crowdfunding approach, basically makes it a made to order. So we don't have to worry about some of the challenges that come with producing a bunch of pieces and then having them sit on a shelf and trying to sell them. From a scarcity standpoint, we're making only the amount that are ordered, and we're really avoiding waste and streamlining cost as a result. Next. Click it again if you want to see the jacket come through. So yeah, this is an example of one of our auction formats. We've actually designed multiple. This one we're most excited about because we think it aligns incentives the greatest across like the board. But this is a blind bid auction with a countdown timer, of course. We're thinking generally each auction will last about a week. We're going to highlight a single auction at a time, probably do a couple a month to start, and then eventually move into even direct sales, more of a kind of like a typical e-commerce format. But the way this works, participants submit max bid that they're willing to pay, but knowing that they'll pay less. So how does that work? The highest bidder will actually win the first item, but they'll pay the second highest bidder's price. Second highest bidder will win the second item, but pay the third highest bidder's price. Any refund in between what you bid and what you actually pay is refunded immediately after. There's also a hidden reserve price here. It's hidden due to some of the game theory involved, and that's driven by the production cost of the unit and dynamic as a result of the number of participants in the auction itself. There will be likely a limited supply as well, which will cap like the number of winning bids. So there's multiple mechanics at play in terms of who will be able to, or which bids will make the cutoff, and we'll be kind of able to alert and notify people accordingly in terms of what's happening throughout the auction course. Each winning bid will also receive, as I mentioned, a pro rata share of the profit based on their order purchase. So the reason you'd want the first item or the second item or the third item beyond a collector's or market speculative standpoint is you'd want it'll receive the largest pro rata share of that profit pool, the kind of contributors or supporters profit pool. You can kind of click through the zoomed in pictures of the jacket. Come on, if you want. So it's a reversible jacket actually designed by the man himself who's presenting, Mr. MetaDreamer, with a freshly shorn head. This is the front and back of the light version, and then we also did a dark mode. This is the back and the front, which was this front piece was actually designed by Peter Pan, Metacartel. Yeah, and then go to the next one. This is kind of like the full look. So we'll be starting with this piece. Main reason is we wanted to both really push the boundaries of what was available in the sense of a nice bomber jacket, reversible, and show what's possible from a production standpoint. The other piece is we wanted to dog food our own work and development in case any hiccups are hit in like this first auction process. It's not going to affect kind of like a partner or an artist's direct design and sale. So yeah, next. So yeah, I talked about before how I actually think brand economies can incubate and lead the conversation from like an adoption standpoint over maybe DeFi, but why not both? So one of the things that I mentioned in terms of the profit sharing going back to the contributors themselves is that the way we're actually doing this is that proportionate share is infused into an accompanied NFT that the buyer receives. That sets the base value for that NFT and is also interest bearing because we're using Chai. as a baseline. So you now have NFTs that will actually hold a specific like DAI value and also be interest bearing. And this is kind of what I mean in terms of being able to introduce DeFi mechanics through this kind of an exploration of and participation in a physical good purchase or auction. The way to redeem that value out of the NFT is you actually have to burn it, making all the remaining ones more scarce and theoretically more valuable as well. And then, yeah, last but not least, here, you can skip forward, man. Here's a list of our first couple artists. We have a handful more after this as well, but we're really excited to be working with some of the top kind of crypto artists, token artists, digital artists, however you want to refer to them as, probably just artists in the space. And we've seen designs for now all these guys, and we're really excited about it. We'll be starting with Twisted Vacancy, who's really impressive gentleman out of Jakarta, Indonesia, and he works with really vibrant detail and colors and pretty wild thematic approaches. So his drop's going to be a lot of fun, pretty exciting. And then, yeah, that's us. That's basically what we're working on. The other piece that we've recently begun to explore in terms of wanting to try and push the envelope and adoption around like the metaverse and virtual world conversation is we're doing avatar creation and possibly creating an avatar marketplace that will support some of the non-crypto spaces like VR chat and similar. So this is kind of, we're evolving MetaFacotry into something beyond just an apparel and creation and factory, I guess, because like, again, the goal is really to help build and enable users to actualize within these worlds as they start to emerge. So that's it, man.
Awesome. The pieces look amazing. Thank you, Drew.
Yeah, no problem. Does anyone have questions or anything?
Drew, this is insane. I love it.
Yeah. We're pretty excited. We think it's gonna be a lot of fun, if nothing else. And again, we're really excited about the potential for this to tap into new audiences, especially that hype beast culture. Really going to dog food it within the crypto space first, and then get to a point where we can just go straight to credit card, which background swaps to DAI. You don't need a wallet because we're going to host that directly on the platform. Secondary market sales, we'll do an OpenSea skin or white label directly on platform. So really making it feel like a Web 2 experience. So
rad.
When is the first jacket coming?
That's a great question. The contracts are all done. The charged particles, which is the repo and like the approach for the infusing of the assets, are all done. We're really just tying up some of the front end. So as soon as we get that all done and tied up, we're good to go. The appetite for limited run custom goods in the current market situation is a debatable one, but yeah, we're going to push forward anyways. And yeah, we're really excited to be able to drop all this stuff. So I hope to be more specific within a week or two.
Yeah, Drew, this is great. I mean, I jokingly refer to this as the internet of shit. And this is like cloud shit. You got the cloud shit that you can just redeem on demand. It's incredible. It's just like the new Kickstarter. It's so exciting seeing this come together.
Yeah, I'm, like being frank, I feel like a little bit more creativity is needed in the space, especially in terms of attracting some new people. Don't get me wrong, all the like very sterile protocol primitive level tech is super important, and it's what enables these types of things. But I really strongly believe in like the emotional resonance that like a physical item can create. And also walking down the street wearing something awesome, it's like, where'd you get the shirt? It's like, well, and then it kind of the conversation goes from there. So it's a good talk.
I'm pretty sure I need dark mode for sure. That is just like full regalia right up there. Yeah, very exciting.
Cool.
I have a question. Does this platform enable people to also make their own clothing to add to these auctions?
Yeah, so definitely would love to get to that point. For now, it's kind of more white gloved, handheld, and that's for a number of reasons. When we really want to keep like the quality up of what's being produced. The biggest consideration, especially in like an auction format, is trying to ensure that there's enough eyes, community support on like each one. So we kind of would cannibalize our audience if there were like 20 auctions running at once as well. So kind of having to stagger that from like a market and approach is another thought. But yeah, eventually the goal would be to open this platform completely up and let individuals produce their own goods and launch their own auctions, or go direct to sale at additional, 10 of 10 or whatnot. So
can I throw out a crazy idea? Like, we talk about a secondary marketplace of the token itself on OpenSea.
Hello? I think you went mute, man.
Oh, sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, I mean, obviously having the secondary market function in OpenSea is exciting, but then seeing how the story unfolds of the ownership of the jacket and like representing that in a fashion that is just like continually stirring the pot. Like, there's just such a social potential to this, especially like the exchange in hand. If you do already have the redeemed thing, like the physical experience itself is such a potent, like, I hate to say social media fodder, but like kind of that's what I'm getting at.